Hello and welcome to another TLDR UK video. It's a sad reality that at 99 years old, Prince Philip's time may be coming towards the end. And when reports emerged about his health and recent hospitalisation, people began to question what the future might hold. As a person of significant note in the UK, his passing will be an important event and one that people have been preparing for years. So in this video we're going to discuss what that preparation entails, how the royals, the government and the wider country have prepared for the prince's eventual passing, and what will practically happen when Prince Philip does die. Before we start, there's been a lot of criticism landed at the press this week for covering royal issues like this and Harry and Meghan's situation rather than important issues in government. So I wanted to say that before you comment that on this video, we have discussed Hancock's law breaking in another video, and we have a whole series called The Daily Briefing where we break down the day's news events in a few minutes. You can find that video linked down below, and every episode of The Daily Briefing is over on the TLDR Daily channel. Be sure to subscribe by clicking the link below. You might have heard about a secret plan called London Bridge is Down, which will come into effect when the Queen dies. I say secret, but it's been discussed quite a lot over the years, so it's not exactly the best kept secret. What you might not know is that other royals also have similarly named bridge plans. The operation that planned for the Queen Mother's death was named Tay Bridge, and Menai Bridge is the name for plans related to Prince Charles's. The one we're going to be discussing today is Operation Forth Bridge, the plans related to Prince Philip's death. A plan that the prince himself was supposedly quite involved with crafting. Before the plan is even enacted though, it's possible that we might get some warning. It's customary that when a royal is on their deathbed, the public are alerted through a palace bulletin, as happened with Queen Victoria and George V. However, this obviously depends on the circumstance of his death. If we don't get such an announcement, we'll be waiting for the monarch to kickstart the process. That's because none of the plans within Operation Forth Bridge will come into effect until the Lord Chamberlain, the head of the Queen's household, meets with the Prime Minister on the Queen's instruction. Even once this meeting's taken place, nothing happens until the death is formally announced by Buckingham Palace, so the timeline is pretty dictated by the royals. It is worth noting that if the Queen were to die before Philip, then it will be the next monarch in charge of this process, likely Prince Charles. All of this is expected to happen pretty quickly though, with the palace likely to announce the death to the media within a matter of hours, at which point the news will be shared with the public. Ordinarily, if the death or announcement is made overnight, then the news will be embargoed until 8 AM, when the media will be allowed to update the public. Traditionally, it would have been the BBC who are updated first and allowed to make the announcement on behalf of the royals, but this has generally changed in recent years, with alerts from the palace going to the Press Association instead, so the news could emerge from any outlet. Once the announcements have been made, you can expect to see a lot of news reports about the prince from all outlets, with most major news agencies preparing extensively for Philip's passing, as well as other royal deaths. ITN have apparently been practicing for years, substituting the prince's name for Mr. Robinson, as well as contracting experts to speak on their channels about the prince and the incident. Also, from the moment the announcement is officially made, the country will enter into a national mourning period, set to last until his funeral. The mourning period not only applies to England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, but other British territories and national representatives abroad. During this period, all official flags will be lowered to half-mast to commemorate the prince's passing. The only flag that won't be lowered is the royal standard above Buckingham Palace, which represents the monarchy, and as such won't be lowered as the monarchy continues on. In the House of Commons, MPs will wear black armbands, and those wearing ties will be expected to swap them out for black ones. Additionally, the ceremonial mace that sits in the Commons chamber, and the two within the Lords, which represent the royal authority with which the houses sit, will be draped in a black covering or have a black bow affixed to them. It's not just the national government either. Local government officials will be told to give careful thought to the official business they carry out. Although, given the ongoing COVID pandemic and the economic situation in Britain, if the prince were to pass in the next few months, it's likely that politics would continue in order to protect the country and lives. The royals will also have a special role in this period. all social engagements will be cancelled, but they may continue with official tasks and engagements, as well as obviously dealing with the situation on a personal and family level. This naturally includes the Queen, who will likely not conduct any affairs of state, which means a number of things from a political perspective, not least that no new laws will receive royal assent and pass into law. This isn't an official rule. The Queen could continue doing these things if necessary. And while I'm sure the government would try not to make this a necessity in the days following her husband's passing, if he were to die during the pandemic, it's possible they'd make an exception and ask the Queen to pass essential and vital laws. Unsurprisingly, the royals will also choose to wear dark colours and mourning bands during this period out of respect. And it's for this reason that whenever travelling, the royals bring dark clothes with them, essentially to be prepared for any eventuality. This mourning period is set to continue until the prince's funeral, and as the Queen's consort, he's entitled to a full state funeral, including lying in state in Westminster Hall within the Houses of Parliament, and a burial in St George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. As I said earlier in the video, the Prince has been part of the planning for this eventuality, and Operation Forth Bridge more generally, and he's supposedly insisted that he doesn't want this kind of full state funeral. Instead, he's apparently opted for a military-style funeral at St George's Chapel, which would be completely private, with only friends, family and Commonwealth heads of state in attendance. Afterwards, the burial would take place at Frogmore Gardens, where Queen Victoria and Prince Albert were laid to rest. This doesn't mean the Queen would follow him there one day, as the monarch is often buried separately, but that's a topic for another video. Speaking of the Queen, and obviously presuming Philip passes first, she's set to resume her normal business after the funeral. There's been a lot of talk over the years about when the Queen will hand over the crown to another royal, or if she continue her reign right up until the end of her life. Obviously no one but her knows for sure, but it's broadly speculated that the Queen doesn't want to abdicate, preferring to continue serving the country, but naturally no one knows for sure. Officially then at least, the Queen would resume her duties post-funeral, although as we say that's not completely guaranteed. Obviously though, this all would make no impact on the line of succession, with the Queen still the head of state unless she chooses otherwise, in which case it would fall to her eldest son, Prince Charles, by default. There's been much talk about the crown skipping Charles and moving down another generation to Prince William, a significantly more popular figure with the public. But although a recent TLDR poll showed that our audience generally favoured skipping a generation, there's no technical reason why this should happen, and Charles is the choice by default. Also, let's be honest, this isn't the most serious of polls. Anyway, that's what's said to happen on the sad day that Prince Philip does pass. Luckily, it seems that despite him being rushed into hospital earlier in the month, the Prince's health does look to be improving, so hopefully this isn't an issue we'll have to worry about right now. But as with all things, it's good to be prepared, and clearly with Operation Forth Bridge, the royals and Philip himself are prepared for the eventuality, and now you know what to expect too. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that's in the description.